Gran Turismo 7 launched more than 6 months ago, and I have to say, we loved it. We loved the single player depth, we loved the attention to detail, the car collection, the dynamic weather. Basically, this was the Gran Turismo game that we had been dreaming for years. I even went as far as to make a video specifically about all of the things that I loved about the game in its first week. Jump ahead to late 2022, however, and it's clear that not everything is as rosy as it first seemed. Certainly in my own personal opinion, this game's flaws kind of began to shine through after a prolonged period of time, not just in the first week. And to be honest, even though a lot of the positive opinions that I had about this game still remain intact, there are some amazing things, there are also a lot of negatives and things that could most certainly be improved. Now, this is not a hate video. I'm not going to go on a big rant because I do still believe that GT7 is one of the best racing game experiences out there, but it certainly could be better. And what better time would there be for me to tell you some of the things that we at Traxion believe would make Gran Turismo 7 a better experience. So let's jump in. Okay, so first I want to talk about the car collection process. Now, a lot of this game's progression revolves around the idea of collecting every car, a little bit like Pokemon. There are two elements to car collection as well. There's the car collection index, which is essentially just a Pokedex for cars. I absolutely love it. And there's also a collector level, which is really your only tangible form of progression through the game. You get a level depending on how many cars you buy, and your collector level increases, yada yada. Now, already we have some flaws here. First of all, the two things, surely they should be connected. They're both about collecting cars. One is a collection index, one is a collector level, but they don't seem to have any integration between the two. I would really expect one of them to complement the other one in some way, and that is simply not the case. The second problem is that the maximum collector level is level 50, and I reached that level myself within the first few weeks of playing the game, but there's so much more still to do in the game. Basically, it tops out far too soon. You still collect XP, but there's nowhere else for your level to go, and you just remain there at 50, and it just feels a bit wrong. As you move through the early collector levels, you get incentives and prizes such as race suits, helmet designs, roulette tickets, so I really don't see why the collector level wouldn't go on for longer. Surely this is a really easy and fun incentive to make you keep on playing the game. It feels like you should reach your maximum collector level once you've collected 400 cars, not what felt like 4. Next up, I'm going to talk about dynamic weather, because I have to say, and full credit to Polyphony Digital for this, the dynamic weather system in Gran Turismo 7 is possibly the best dynamic weather system in any racing game ever made. I think it is absolutely fantastic. So, why then is it only available for a small number of tracks? You have such a good fundamental system there, and I do wonder if it's because it's so good and so detailed that's maybe why it isn't available on more circuits as it stands. But I would absolutely love to see the level of dynamic weather across more circuits in the game. I understand if every circuit is a bit ambitious, but come on, I would love to see it on more circuits because it's just fantastic and it completely transforms the racing. Another suggestion, I would really like it if Gran Turismo 7 notified you when there was a chance of a race being wet. Maybe just a prompt that says dynamic weather enabled or something, so that I don't discover that there's going to be rain 7 laps into a 10 lap race and I'm stuck out on slicks and I don't actually own wet tyres. And on that note, tyres, they're very, very expensive. Both wet tyres and intermediates cost, I think, 28,000 credits or something like that. That's a lot of money, especially if you're only going to need them once or twice. So maybe it would be cool to have the option of buying used wet tyres where you can pay a little bit less money or a lot less money to buy tyres that aren't quite as good, maybe won't last quite as long, but at least allow you the chance to do that one-off wet race without breaking the bank. I'm going to break this up into 4 bite-sized chunks because this whole argument basically revolves around the idea that the game needs to have better replayability in order to fully maximize its potential longevity. At the moment, it feels like they've got this very special long-term goal in the form of car collection that could be an amazing hook to keep you coming back for more, but the fact is the gameplay isn't really engaging enough to actually make it worthwhile pursuing it. The goal feels far too far away, and the game's not fun enough in itself to actually want to get there. Okay, that on its own sounded a little bit scathing, but let me just take you through this step by step. The first element to this is the format of the single player experience. Now, as it stands, each race is separated into different circuits across the world. So you explore the globe, you pick the track based on its location, and you do the races within that circuit. Personally, I am not a big fan of this format. When you're first playing the game and moving through all the cafe menus, this actually works fine. It's enjoyable, it's something a little bit different, But when you reach the end of the regular gameplay section, you find yourself getting a little bit tired of picking races based on what circuit they are. You really do wish there were more championships. Now, of course, there are some championships littered throughout the cafe menus, but not that many. And the further you go on, the more you wish there was just more regular style championships. A little bit more similar to what we had in the likes of Gran Turismo 2, 3, and 4, which I personally prefer as a format. I like not knowing what track's coming up next. I don't actually want to pick a circuit. I like picking a car, and especially in a championship, you get to pick one that suits a number of different circuits rather than cherry picking. I like the idea of working towards a goal, a long-term achievement through winning a championship, not just a single race where it's win or bust. If I have a spin, I finish 3rd or 4th, I don't have to redo the same race, I can try and make up the points in the other rounds. So yeah, I much prefer that as a system. The other nice thing about championships is that it creates an opportunity for a better incentive, and this is going to lead me on to my next point. In my opinion, as long as you don't go over the top, better incentives create more enjoyment. Now with a championship, you have the opportunity to have some sort of bonus prize fund at the end, something to work towards, and that's more enjoyable than just winning some money at the end of a race. I don't want to do a 10-lap race and knowingly win 150 grand and that's it. I want to have something more at the end of it. If I do 5 or 6 races in a row, do well, a big championship winning bonus, maybe even a mystery car. One of my favourite things about playing old Gran Turismo games was that excitement you get when you win a championship and you know you're going to win a car, but you have no idea what the car is going to be, and I don't really get that with GT7. Sure, you can win cars by winning races or championships through the cafe books, you can win roulette tickets, but it's not the same as knowing you're getting a car for sure and just waiting for that silhouette to appear. So yeah, for me that would make a big difference, especially if they could make it so that you got different cars each time you won the same championship. It gives you an incentive over and over again to keep on playing that same championship, keep on making some money, because you're going to get something exciting at the end of it. If they don't want to just keep giving away mystery cars for every championship win, then at least give us something, give us some stats, maybe how many times I've done that championship, what car I used, how many wins I've got, something that stops it feeling pointless and it's not just a grind for money, it actually feels like you're adding some form of progress to your experience. Oh, and on a separate note, I do need to talk about roulette spins. My favourite part of Gran Turismo 7. I would really appreciate it if I was shown an actual accurate representation of my chances of winning a particular thing in the roulette spins, which I thought was the case at first until I realised that 9 times out of 10 I would win whatever the worst prize was from the spin. Like, genuinely, it's awful and it's very annoying. Please show me an actual fair representation of my chances. And also stop giving me random car parts for a 2008 Nissan that I don't own. Please. Now, all of these changes would make the grind feel less grindy, but it doesn't solve the problem because the cars are still super expensive, especially the legendary ones, and you still have to raise all of those credits somehow, which is going to lead me on to my next point. I and many others would love it if Gran Turismo 7 made it a little bit easier for you to earn money through gameplay rather than actually spending real money to try and build up your credits. Now, everyone has talked about this a lot, and I don't want to go into the same old detail. We know that credits cost a lot of real money if you want to buy them, therefore you've got to try and make them in the game, and they're very, very difficult to make at a good rate. Now, I actually don't think having really expensive cars that are hard to get is necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it could be a really cool thing that gives it a huge amount of longevity, like I mentioned earlier. The problem is you need to be able to make that money through gameplay, not just through spending real money. Now, some subtle money-orientated changes would go a long way here. Now, obviously, we've already covered championships. Winning a prize fund for actually winning a collection of races would be great, and Gran Turismo 7 have kind of acknowledged and addressed this issue already by giving you a huge amount of credits for completing circuit experience challenges. But this is a very, very clear case of a treatment rather than a cure. These are one-off, one-time payments that give you a huge thrill when you actually get the money, but once you've completed all the circuit experiences, it makes the racing feel like so much more of a slog because the balancing is all out. You got way too much money for circuit experiences and far too little for the races. That is probably too difficult to fix now. I think they've already kind of laid their bed with the whole circuit experience money thing, but there's still other things they could do instead, like increasing the incentive to actually do the races rather than simply piling on random bits of money for other things that are nothing to do with the main gameplay of the game. While I'm on the subject of circuit experiences, it's also worth noting that tracks like Tokyo Expressway have 5 or 6 different layouts, whereas tracks like Brands Hatch have the GP layout but no Indy layout. And I don't really understand why, because there are races on the Indy layout, so why can't there be a circuit experience? Obviously they could add this in later, but I don't really get why it wasn't there in the first place. Now, the final point on the money side of things is selling cars, or the lack of ability to sell cars. Why can't we sell cars? I do not understand. I'm pretty sure at some point Polyphony Digital said we would be able to sell cars, but at the moment all we can do is discard them, which is worth no money. It means that duplicates are worth nothing as well, because I've got plenty of duplicates. A couple of them, by the way, I got in 6-star roulette spins, and that feels so useless because there's nothing I can do with it. So hopefully at some point we can sell cars and we can all go and shift our old duplicates and make a lot of money that way. From selling cars to buying cars. Now, I understand what GT7 are doing when they make the legendary cars very difficult and exclusive to get, but it can be really, really frustrating because sometimes you have 3 or 4 cars in the legendary dealership that you want to buy, you don't have enough money at that moment to buy them all, and then after a certain number of days the cars disappear and you probably won't see them again for a number of months. Don't worry, Polyphony Digital, I have a solution that is going to fix everything. I think there should be an ability to secure or freeze the purchase of a car in future. So say you see a car that's 3 million credits, you only have 2 million, maybe you can put down a 10% deposit or something, or 500,000 credits to secure that car and put it in a warehouse or something, a new feature. We can work on the details. I feel like this works because you would still need that little bit of cash to actually secure the car, and you would lose that cash, so it's still going to cost you money, which stops players from securing every single car. But at the end of the day, it means that if you see a car you really want, you don't have to stress about it disappearing. You know you can buy it in the future, and that would make a big difference. I also think there's a similar kind of issue with invitations as well. If you want a car that you need to be invited to buy, it can be incredibly frustrating trying to collect invitations through chance. So why not have a system where, say you wanted a Ferrari invitation, there's a challenge where you have to complete or win 3 races driving a Ferrari to receive an invitation to buy one. I think that would be a really simple and cool way of doing it so that you can actually influence the ability to receive an invitation, and then you can buy the car of your dreams if you want a Ferrari, which you probably do. So we've covered the single player Gran Turismo 7 experience, but we still need to talk about multiplayer, and that is going to be the final point in this video. Multiplayer is such an important part of any modern day racing game, and the sport mode gives you a pretty cool ranked system, but it's not the sole focus of multiplayer racing in Gran Turismo 7. Private lobbies are hugely important as well. They create racing communities. You can race against your friends, whether it's serious or just for a bit of fun, so they really do need to be spot on in order to enhance the online experience. Private lobbies need to be stable, and in GT Sport, private lobbies were stable. They were fantastic, in fact, some of the best out there, and you could do some fantastic online racing with your friends. In GT7, they're not. They're really not. Things have clearly gone backwards since GT Sport. There are less features now, the cars just seem to be a bit janky, it's almost as if everyone's necked 5 espressos, and that really does make a difference when you're racing closely, especially going through elevation changes or over curbing and banking. It becomes very difficult to race someone cleanly when their car's moving around and you don't really know where they are. You take the same group of people and put them in a lobby on GT Sport with the same internet connection, the same everything, it will be a lot better, and that is a real shame. The key ingredient required for close, clean and competitive racing is stable representation of the cars on the track, so there's definitely work for Gran Turismo 7 to do if they want to become a must-play in lobbies. So, those are my 7 key areas where I feel Gran Turismo 7 could and should improve, and all of these things, to be honest with you, are fairly realistic. I do want to make a Gran Turismo 8 wishlist video in the future, probably years in the future, but for now, all of these changes feel like they could be implemented. So let's give Polyphony Digital time, because they still have a fundamentally superb racing game underneath the flaws. So that is going to wrap up this video. If you've enjoyed it and you agree with any of the points I've made, be sure to leave us a like, and of course if you disagree or have any more things to add, please do let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the Traxion channel for more racing game content like this, and head over to the website TraxionGG for your latest racing game news, reviews and features. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.